On March 26, 2009, our mountain had arrived. My wife and I walked into the delivery room to have our baby. That's redundant. We weren't, that's what you do in a delivery room. We weren't browsing. This is nice. We had some concerns, like every parent has, that their child is going to come out less than the perfect vision of a child that they've been thinking about for the last 9 months. We had a couple more concerns. In one of the ultrasounds, he had a white spot on his heart and short femurs. And the doctor did tell us that that might be indicative of a child with Down syndrome. So we got to have that fun discussion. But then a couple ultrasounds later, the white spot was gone, and he looked at us, and he looked at my older son's ultrasounds, and he said, well, you're not basketball players, so I'm not really worried about the femurs either. But I always found that interesting that we were told that, and that did show up on the ultrasound, because we did have that conversation. When Henry came out, he was gorgeous. He just had this little face that was just, he was smiling when he came out, and it looked so pure and angelic. And I'm not that guy, by the way. I'm not the guy who goes, all babies who, right when they come out look beautiful. No, come on, guys, if you're with me on this, I mean, right, we need like a towel and maybe a fire hose first, right? I mean, come on, to be honest. Women, you don't care. Women are great. You're so much tougher than men. You get the baby right away, and you're like, he's beautiful, goo and all, and it doesn't matter, and you're fine. But Henry was beautiful. And half the people start tending to my wife, and half the people are tending to Henry, and I get backed up, and I ask what I think is a harmless question. I say, hey, we had a couple soft markers in the ultrasounds that he might have Down syndrome. Would we know that right now? And everybody stops. And everybody tending to my wife goes and tends to the baby. And for 10 minutes, my wife and I are holding hands nervously. And the doctor finally comes over to us and he says, listen, he shows no signs, no physical traits common to someone with Down syndrome. We're going to do a blood test to be sure, but I'm 99% that you're in the clear. While I don't love that expression now, at that moment it made us feel a little better, but we would tell each other later that we had a gut feeling that that wasn't exactly accurate. 2 hours later, our pediatrician walks into our hospital room and into our lives for the very first time. We had never met her. We'd only been in Medina for 9 months to the day. Do the math. Thank you. Thank you. Please, it was nothing. We chose her completely randomly. She comes in and introduces herself, and she takes hold of Henry and starts looking at him, and after a few minutes, she gives him back to us. I'm not sure she did it like that. Palm me to basketball. I don't know. Probably a cradle. Don't let me hold your kids. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to say. So, hands him back, and then she says the words every parent would ever remember. She says, well, I'm about 80% sure that your son does have Down syndrome. And as our hearts descended into the pits of our stomach, she goes, and that is awesome. And then she turns around her laptop and she shows us pictures of her daughter who had Down syndrome. Beautiful little girl, of course, pigtails, cheerleader, soccer player. And I realized it was at that moment that the mountain had fallen upon me, but also at almost that exact same moment that it began to minimize.